All right, hello friends, and welcome to a new reading vlog on my channel. So I was at my dad's recently, and while I was there, I accidentally challenged myself to read 9 books in 4 days. I know, it was pretty bad. I ended up not reading 3 of those 9 books, which is pretty good, to be fair. But the second that I came home, I went to my local library and I grabbed those 3 books so that I could actually finish up and read them. Because I did actually want to read all 9 of those books. It was just I could not do it in the time frame that I had accidentally given myself. So I'm going to go over these real quick before we hop into this vlog so we know what we're about to talk about. The first book that I did not read while I was at my dad's is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. This is about a girl who is a professor in theoretical physics. I had to look to see what it was exactly. I was just like, I know it's something sciencey. And she also works as a fake girlfriend online for people. She ends up meeting this guy who works with not theoretical physics, the other kind of physics. I'll find it. Hold on. Experimental physics. I don't know what any of these words mean. And he's kind of like staring at her, kind of like, what is going on here, you know? I am excited to read this because I have so far enjoyed every single Ali Hazelwood book that I have read, which is only 2. The Love Hypothesis and Bride. So I want to branch out into some of her other works. And I'm enjoying it so far. I'm a chapter in. I read the first chapter while I was at my dad's. And it's so far pretty good, but throughout this vlog, I'll tell you my thoughts on the rest of it. The next book that I have, believe it or not, it's another Ali Hazelwood. It is Check and Mate. This is about a girl who accidentally wins a chess match against some guy who's really good at chess. And she wins like a prize for it. She wins money and she really needs the money. So she starts getting into chess and he starts getting into her because like she beat him in chess. It doesn't sound like it's like a bad thing. Like he's like, what the fuck? Nobody can beat me in chess. It sounds like he's just like, wow, okay. That's really cool. I want to know more. So I am interested in seeing how this goes as well. Again, Ali Hazelwood, I want to read more of her works. This one is YA, whereas the rest of her books are adult. And I'm very interested to see because I'm on this cusp of not wanting to read YA anymore because I'm just a little bit too old for that genre. But I think that plus the fact that this is Ali Hazelwood's first YA, I want to try it out. I want to see how it goes. And then the last book that I have, the big one, is Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. This is the second book in the, I don't remember what the series is called. It's not on the cover. I love this for me. But anyway, it's the sequel to Fourth Wing. Is the series called Fourth Wing? I don't know. I read Fourth Wing a while ago, and I really enjoyed it, but at the time I was reading too many books that were very similar to it, and so I decided to put it down that I wasn't going to continue on with the series. But I have a friend who absolutely adores this series, and she said I was absolutely wrong for not continuing on with it, so this one's for my friend. Thanks. At its basic, because all of that did not even describe what it's about, Fourth Wing is a story about dragon riders. It's also a little bit, I described it originally as Divergent, kind of, where you have these different groups. The main character really wanted to be what is basically like a librarian, but she was forced into being a dragon rider instead by her mother, who's like the head of dragon riders. And she accidentally picks out, but like not really, they're bonded, She accidentally gets bonded to a dragon who is mated to the dragon who is bonded to her enemy. And like, with that bond between dragon and rider comes with feelings, so like they always know what's going down between the dragons. You know? Now that I'm thinking about it right now in this moment, it's been such a long time that like I remember the basics of what happened in Fourth Wing, and I remember that we were going off to some new place at the end of it, but I don't fully remember a lot of the details. So I might look up like a summary, because I don't have time right now to reread Fourth Wing. I might look up a summary to like catch myself up after a while before I start reading this. All that being said, these are the 3 books that I am going to be reading in this video. So, let's get into it. Okay, does somebody need to have a conversation with Ali Hazelwood about scenes where the characters are in a bathroom together? Because 3rd book that I've read from her, in which there is a scene in which the 2 main characters are in a bathroom together. And to be fair, Bride was not as egregious as these other 2 instances, but it's still like, I'm sensing a pattern here. What's going on? So in the Love Hypothesis, it opens up with the main character. I can't remember what was going on with her in that moment. She was having like a medical emergency where she could not see. She was in like the corner of a bathroom, and who eventually becomes her love interest, but at the time was just like a stranger, comes in and is just kind of like talking her through it. Like, she's blind, she cannot see, and is just kind of like chatting with her and being like, you good? Holding her hand through this trauma. In Bride, there is a scene where the main character is taking a bath, and it's one of my favorite scenes of the entire book, just because it's so stupid. The main character is taking a bath, and her love interest like knocks on the door to be like, can I come in? Are you dressed? Are you modest? Something like that. And she's like, yeah. So he comes in, and she's like in the bath. And he's like, no, you are not. And she's like, what are you talking about? I have my modesty froth on. So stupid. In Love, theoretically, I just got to this scene where, so the main character works as a fake girlfriend for people, and she has been working with this one guy his mother's like really on his case about getting married and things, so he needs a fake girlfriend. He also has a brother who ends up being the, love interest main guy of the book. He has been introducing the main character as his girlfriend who works at a library, yada yada. And then a couple days after they go to a family dinner together, she is interviewing for a position as a professor at MIT, and one of the people that she needs to meet in order to see whether or not she's a good fit for the position is the brother, the guy on the cover here. And he's like, okay, you're dating my brother, you're a librarian, but you are also a professor who does theoretical physics. I had to think about it for a second. Theoretical physics. And so she makes an excuse, I'm gonna get up to go to the bathroom and wash my hands. And he's like, oh, so am I. And now they're in the men's bathroom together about to have this discussion, and I'm just like, Ali Hazelwood, you are 3 for 3 on having scenes in which the main character and her love interest are in a bathroom together. Should I quickly go through check and mate? Like, I'll let you know later when I'm reading this, if there's a bathroom scene, because, like, there's something going on here, girl. I am obsessed with this book. Obsessed with this book because I'm in the confession scene right now, not even halfway through the book, in a confession scene, okay? This entire time I have been going, girl, they're kind of enemies to lovers, but it's more of like misunderstanding to lovers sort of thing, where she thinks that he hates her. And I'm like, girl, he's in love with you. Has been since the very first time he saw you. But she has no idea, so whatever. Not even halfway through this book, he is explaining about how, like, the whole thing from his point of view, right? Because I already explained to you how she is a fake girlfriend for his brother, and how she's basically running interference between him, the brother, and the family, because the family's like really into like, when are you gonna get a girlfriend, when are you gonna settle down, whatever. The point remains, the guy is into the girl. And he's like explaining about how the very first time that he saw her, he was interested in her, and then the more he got to know her, he was like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with her. And he keeps like, man has no shame. Absolutely no shame. I'll read it to you. He's, making a list of things. I want to take her to dinner, make sure she's relaxed, make sure she doesn't feel like she needs to think 2 steps ahead. I want to know why she can hold a ghost stone. And I really, really want to. Well, I'll spare you the graphic details. And I'm like, hello, sir. But then we get a couple paragraphs underneath that, where he says, it's like he, his brother, forgets that she exists, which is weird because I can't stop thinking about her. I ask questions even though I shouldn't. I have a couple of really wrong, really messy dreams about my brother's girlfriend. I thought you said we weren't going to talk about that. Obsessed with this book. Obsessed with this book. I'm only 150 pages in of 384. Almost halfway, but not quite. Also, I'm scared what's going to happen if we're getting this halfway through, right? Like, but obsessed. So last night I was just reading, I was really enjoying the book, like I told you guys. I went to go and check the time because it had been a while since I saw what time it was, and I was curious. I wanted to know. And it was 2 a.m. I read this book until 2 a.m., knowing that I had to wake up early today. So, but now it is time to get back into reading. I'm super excited. I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm starting reading for the day. I read until 2 a.m. last night. I'm about halfway through, and I'm excited. Wait, I was just laying here on TikTok. I know, it's a problem. And I finished my book, but I'm waiting for a little while longer until I tell you about it. I was just laying here on TikTok, and I happened to see one of the books in that one series. I can't remember what the first book is called, and I can't remember like the author of the series or anything, but I know that what I'm talking about, and I just thought I got a copy when I was at Dad's and I was gonna read it, and I forgot to grab it from the library here. I completely forgot all about it. I mean, I guess the good news is the other day I was going through the books on my Kindle, because I have too many books on my Kindle. I have like 400 unread books, and apparently at one point I had gotten the first book in that series on my Kindle. Forgot that I did. So like I have it with me right now. We'll just add it to this video. But like I recorded a whole thing at the beginning here of like, here's the 3 books that I got at the library that I didn't read, so I re-got them at the library again. But it was 4 books. Twisted Love, it's literally right here. It's in like the second line of books that I own on my Kindle. Twisted Love by Anna Huang. That's what it is. I have it on my Kindle, at the very least. So we've got that going for us. But I just, like literally I was watching TikToks. One came up for the 2nd or 3rd book in the series. I don't know. And I was just like, I completely forgot that that book was supposed to be in this video too. So I'll read it, but like, we'll put it as the last book in this video because I have, you know, the library books and it's on my Kindle, so it's not like I have to give it away. Like, I'm constantly forgetting about it. I even forgot that I owned it. I got it from the library, but I own it on my Kindle. Anyway, I'll wait a little bit until I tell you about Love Theoretically, because I finished it, but not right now. I gotta go feed my dogs. Okay, so my thoughts and feelings on Love Theoretically. I liked it, but I feel like we all knew there was going to be a but here with the last video that I had recorded of like, I want to wait a little bit before I share with you my thoughts. I really liked this book, but I do feel like the male love interest, Jack, was a little bit too much of just like a vessel for our main character Elsie's story and her character development, and he wasn't his own person. He did have like his own little details here and there that would technically make him a person, but overall I feel as though pretty much every character in this besides Elsie were just minor characters who were there to further Elsie's story and were not themselves actual people. They didn't feel fully fleshed out. So I do feel like we were really missing out on that aspect of this, but otherwise, like, I was really enjoying myself with it, you know? The just reading experience in general, the vibes, immaculate. But I do feel like in all the characters needed to be fleshed out a little bit more. And I do also want to say too that like I really enjoyed Elsie's story. There's actually a part in this where she talks to Olive, and on the side Adam, but like he didn't really matter that much. Olive and Adam being the main characters of the love hypothesis. And I wouldn't have thought of this until they had this discussion, but Olive and Elsie actually have very similar stories. Like, Olive even says something about how, like, the people who we think are our mentors and who are, like, helping us may not always have our best interests in mind. And I was like, damn, this is just the love hypothesis, but with different characters. But that being said, like, I still really love the writing in this book. I really enjoy Ali Hazelwood's writing in general. Last night, I couldn't even tell you about this book because I got so inspired in general that I started writing a little bit more of my story that I'm working on, which has nothing to do with anything similar to this. I guess I kind of find that Ali Hazelwood and I have very similar writing styles. Not to, oh my gosh, but I feel like we both have the same sort of sense of humor that comes through our writing styles, and so I always feel like reading her writing, I'm like, damn, I could do that. And then I do for a little bit, and then I get a little, like, not necessarily bored, but writing takes a long time. I have other things that I need to do as well, you know. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Really enjoyed this one. Feel like the characters, besides the main character, needed to be a little bit more fleshed out. 4 stars. I am starting now on Check and Mate, the other Ali Hazelwood book. This one, as I said before, is YA. I read the prologue, so I don't know too much about it. It does say straight up in the prologue, and it says this on the back of the book too, that there is this guy, his name's Nolan, who he is a 18-year-old grandmaster of chess, and that 2 years after he becomes grandmaster or something like that, becomes like famous, the main character battles him in chess. Is that what it's called? I don't know. And it says she wipes the floor with him. So I'm excited to see that. I'm also very interested in seeing, because it says that she was also growing up really into chess. She had gotten a chess, I'm trying to look for where it is. She had gotten a chess set when she was a kid, and she was like obsessed with it. It says, I'd use it all day long, carry it with me everywhere, then snuggle it in my sleep. But she has not played chess in a while, and I'm very interested in seeing like why she doesn't play chess anymore, why she started to play chess again, and just the story of her kicking this guy's ass. So I'm gonna read a little bit more, let you know how I feel about it, as always, and hop in. Just kidding, I'm not gonna read it yet because I just remembered something else that I want to tell you about this book. In the prologue, it talks about Bill Nye erotic fanfiction, and that Nolan, the guy, is described as thinking like a theoretical physicist, which are both things that are talked about a lot in Love Theoretically. And I also just noticed that, Love Theoretically has a lot to do with the love hypothesis, and it says Ali Hazelwood, New York Times bestselling author of The Love Hypothesis. Interesting. Whereas this one, I've only read the prologue, but seems to have a lot of tie-ins to Love Theoretically, and on the cover of this one it says Ali Hazelwood, #1 New York Times bestselling author of Love Theoretically. I just think that's really interesting that each book has a tie-in to the book before it. Like, she was fresh off of writing Love Theoretically, immediately hopped into Check and Mate, but like her mind was still on Love Theoretically a little bit. That might not be, I don't know exactly when, she wrote these, when these were published within, a timeline of each other, but I just found that really interesting that like each book has a tie-in to the previous book, and the previous book's title is on the cover of the book that it has a tie-in for. Pretty cool. Okay, so I didn't even check how many pages in. I was 59 pages into this book, and I feel like I have a pretty good foundation on the events leading up to this plot. So I wanted to check in with you and tell you the basics of this book. So our main character's name is Mallory. She was really into chess when she was younger, but something happened with her dad. I can't tell if he's dead or he divorced her mom and left them. But something happened with her dad, and she has not played chess in 4 years. On top of that, her mom is sick. Her mom has rheumatoid arthritis. And so between the mom's hospital bills and trying to take care of her 2 younger sisters and everything else in the house, just generally, Mallory hasn't really had time to play chess. She has put it to the side. Again, I don't know what happened with her dad, but it seems like it's father related. Anyway, her best friend is doing a chess tournament for charity, and she needs somebody else to help round out the roster. So she asks Mallory if she can play just a couple rounds of chess. It's for a good cause. It's all good, just a couple rounds of chess. And Mallory really doesn't want to, but she's like, fine, because you are my best friend and you're leaving for college and I'm not because I can't afford college. So she enters this chess tournament. Her very first match is against Nolan, the guy who's like the #1 chess guy in the world or whatever. And she is kind of half freaking out about it, not fully thinking her thoughts through, but she ends up finding out that she won. It's like a couple of rounds before the very end when she sees her moment and she's like, I don't think he knows that he's left himself open. And so she goes for it and she wins. And he gets as far as asking who before she just runs and leaves. The day after that, somebody comes to her house and is like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm the person who ran that whole tournament. I think you're pretty cool, and I'd like to give you a job where you play chess for a living. And she's like, no, because that's not, in a year, I'm not going to be doing that. And I need money, I need a stable job, a stable income so that I can take care of my mother and my 2 sisters. And I can't go just gallivanting across the world playing chess. I have things to do. And then she loses her job. And the thing is, she has been working for the past however long as a mechanic, but it was all under the table. So she doesn't have any experience on paper. It's just been as a mechanic for her uncle's friend's company or whatever. So she can't get another job like that. She's trying to look around for other places where she could get a job, but they're all real low paying, not enough for her to pay her mother's bills, her sister's hobbies, the bills for the house in general. So she ends up taking the fellowship to play chess for this woman. Which I think is definitely a really interesting plot line, and I'm excited to see what happens next. We know that she's going to meet Nolan again, the guy. But I'm sitting here thinking, how exactly is that going to happen? Because he's bigwig chess man, and also supposedly there are clubs and he's affiliated with the rifle club, so it could be that they have another tournament and they meet again and he's like, oh my god, it's you, and she's like, but I'm very intrigued. I want to know more. Also, I'm really enjoying the writing style in this book, which, again, we probably knew that was going to happen because it's Ali Hazelwood. One thing that I was worrying about was because it's YA and I'm 10 years older than the audience for this kind of book, whether or not I was going to enjoy it. I found recently with YA books that I'm just a little too old and they don't quite make sense anymore, and they're a little too immature for me personally, though somebody who's like an actual teenager is going to absolutely love them because they're written for teenagers. So I was a little hesitant going into this, but I am enjoying myself with it. It could be that later, once we get into the conflict of the book, I'm like, that's such a lame conflict, and I kind of get out of it. But for the beginning here, I'm really enjoying myself with it. So I'm going to hop right back into this. I have a headache tonight, so rather than doing anything on screens, I'm reading paper. And I will let you know when I have some more thoughts. I just read the word Nolan. Hold on. Oh no. Nolan and I, we're not really dating. We're barely friends. What's going on? That's page 215. I'm on page like 60. Okay, minor update because I just got to page 133 and it full on states right there in the story that the main character's dad died a year ago. Which I wasn't sure. I thought maybe that he did, but then it talks about him like packing up his things and just like silently leaving them. So I wasn't sure if he just like walked out. I don't know. And the fact that it says that he died, but he silently packed up his things, makes me question like what exactly went on here. What did he die of? But he did die, so at least we've got that down. The pieces of father lore I'm just now getting in this. We're far enough into the book now that I'm like, I should maybe not share it with you guys. Also, yes, I'm still in my bed. I do actually do things, believe it or not. It's just I have the book in bed with me. So every single time that I pick up the book, I'm in bed. So you only ever see me in bed. I have been recently deciding whether or not I want to actually give myself days off of work and perhaps read a book in a different location when it's not the middle of the night. But that's an aside for another day. The lore for like, you know how I was saying before that something happened with her dad and it forever changed the way that she views chess. I still haven't gotten all of the details, and I kind of feel like I don't need them because I know enough to be like, listen, this book ain't about her dad, okay, and all that happened. But I just got enough details. Page 236 of how many pages are there? 350-ish. So, rather far into the book, where I'm like, oh. I guess my question is really like, how does that equate to you hating chess? But I could also see how you get there, I guess. It's not like chess was the reason why that happened, but like, I could understand it. Just very not what I was expecting from this book. Like, I don't know what I thought. Maybe he got sick and died from like cancer or something, because her mom has rheumatoid arthritis. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird that they'd both be like sick to the point of not being able to take care of themselves / dying. So maybe not that, because that's a little too like samey, and in books you generally don't want sameness like that. But I couldn't think of any other ways that somebody could die that's not of old age. But hey, figured it out. I get it. I don't agree with like pushing away the chess world solely because of that. But I get it. It wasn't the first time he's done that? What do you mean? If you hadn't told me about that, I would have found out anyway, because it wasn't the first time he's done that. Why? Another fun fact about this book that I haven't talked about yet is the fact that the main character and her best friend are really into Dragon Age. Oh my god, me too. I used to love Dragon Age when I was in high school. I have not kept up with it since, a little bit before the Veilguard came out. Because I feel like if you take, how long has it been? 10 years to create a new game? I'm over it, you know? I'm out of the fandom. I still really like the first 3 games, but I haven't even seen like a trailer or a playthrough or anything for the 4th game, because I just don't care. Obviously, the developers don't care about the series, or else they wouldn't have taken 10 frickin' years to create another game. Anyway, there's this one point when the main character is describing Dragon Age to the guy character, and it just says basically that she's describing the story about elves and eggheads. And I was like, man, fuck that egghead. I hate that guy. But I didn't want to say anything because it just says that she's talking about elves and eggheads, and I'm like, what if she likes the egghead, you know? What if that's like her favorite character or whatever? And then I get to this point, page 328, by the way. Like, I'm almost done with this story by the time that I can actually say this. It says, Easton blesses me with a Dragon Age playthrough. For a minute, it feels like it used to be. The two of us, and Solus being an asshole on screen. And you know what? You are so right. Fuck that egghead. If there's one thing anyone who is a fan of Dragon Age Inquisition can say, it's that we all absolutely love to be mean to that egghead. That being said, though, there's one thing that I am quite sad about in this book, and that's they only ever seem to talk about Inquisition. You know, we've had multiple Dragon Age references in this, and they all seem to be Inquisition focused, and I'm like, man, my favorite Dragon Age game is 2. Okay? I know that that's an unpopular opinion. There are normally people who really like, most of the Dragon Age fandom is like, Origins is the best game, and everything after that was downhill. I really like 2. Talk to me about Hawke. If your Dragon Age opinion is not Purple Mage Garrett Hawke goes best with a playthrough where you're romancing Fenris, you're wrong. I'm sorry, that's the best way to play the game. And the fact that we're so focused on Inquisition specifically, and that damn egghead in this, I'm like, come on. Allie Hazelwood, how could you do me dirty like that? Talk to me about Dragon Age 2. Okay, hi, me again. I finished Check and Mate, and I just wanted to give you a little finale update, I guess, because I really liked this one. Really good. Like I said, because it's YA. Honestly, I'm not even sure if it's YA or new adult. It kind of bridges the gap. It depends on what you think YA, where you think YA ends and new adult begins. And I personally don't even know. So it's like, well, I mean, the characters aren't in high school, so it's not YA. But then also, like, they're a little young for new adult. I don't know. Anyway, I was worried because it is younger that I wasn't going to like it as much, but that is not the case. I really did enjoy this one. It did feel a little bit obvious at times, like where the story was going to go, but that's not anything bad. Sometimes you just want to read obvious things, right? And I will also say that the ending of this, I was like, you can't end it there. I want to know more. It's a little bit summary-esque. Like, it just takes what the next thing in the book is going to be and just summarizes it. And it's like, no, I want to see those moments. So that's a little disappointing. I wanted to see a little bit more of the main relationship and how it all... I just wanted more of the characters. That's it. Just wanted more of them. But I did really enjoy it. Good book. Really glad that I read it. I think there's only 2 Ali Hazelwood books now. Not including the sequel to Bride, that I'm not sure if it's out yet or not. But I think there's only 2 Ali Hazelwood books now that I haven't read, so I might pick those up next-ish, just to have finished her entire backlog. But otherwise, I'm really enjoying her writing so far, and I'm excited to read more from her. Now, it is time to get into the absolute tome that is Iron Flame. I figured I'd do this before I do, I don't know, the blue one, because I have the blue one on my Kindle, and I have this one physically from the library. I haven't started it yet. It is a little over 600 pages. We'll just say that. I see 619 and I'm like, you know what? We're over 600 pages. I know I said before I started this that I was going to look up a summary in order to just remind myself of some of the things in Fourth Wing that I may have forgotten. But the more that I've been thinking about this book throughout, not necessarily the course of this video, but just in general, since getting it from the library, I've been like, I feel like I still have a pretty good memory of Fourth Wing. There were like these magical zombie liches, killed some people, killed some dragons. There was the whole thing with like debating what they're gonna do because the main character needs to stay in school. But the love interest is like needed to fight in this war. And their dragons can't be parted, so like what are they gonna do there? The whole thing with like, I forget what exactly his involvement was in it. Is there even an involvement? I don't remember. But the love interest's dad have something to do with the magical zombie liches. The whole like reveal at the end that I don't know whether or not I should talk about, because on one hand, we're about to get into the sequel, so I assume by you listening to me, you already have a pretty good understanding of the first book. But I'm also like, if you're new here and you're just listening to me blab about a book and you don't want spoilers, should I talk about what happened at the very end? But I do remember that that was a thing. So I feel like I could probably do this by myself. I don't need to look up a summary. I feel like I'm pretty good with my remembering, and if there are some details here and there that I've forgotten, they'll probably come up in this book and I'll be like, oh, right, yeah, that thing, completely forgot about it, but I'm on the same page right now. So we'll see. Hopefully. I'm a little nervous about it because I'm like, I don't remember what I've forgotten, if there's anything like really big that I've forgotten. But also I can't tell you everything that I know because like, how will I know what I've forgotten if I've forgotten it? You know? Anyway, it's late at night. I feel like you can kind of tell that through my voice. I feel like when I'm tired, I talk more throatily. So I'm probably not going to read too much of this tonight, and honestly, I've been reading in bed for this entire video anyway, so do you truly know when a day has passed? But I will at least read the first chapter, probably, and let you know my thoughts as I read it in hopefully a non-spoilery way, but, you know, sometimes things happen in books and I've just got to tell a camera about it. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not entirely sure that I have it in me to read fantasy anymore. I used to read so much fantasy a couple years ago. That was like all that I read. And now, it's been a few days since the last time that I updated you. I am 22 pages of the way through Iron Flame. And I'm just like, I don't know that I have it mentally within me to care about fantasy politics, to want to read about just fantasy things in general. Don't get me wrong, I do still like fantasy, but especially these big tomes of like higher fantasy, it's like, I think I'm burnt out of them. I think it would be surprising if I could read one again, and I'm debating whether or not I want to DNF this, because I've read 2 chapters. I'm on chapter 3 right now, just turned the page to chapter 3, and I'm like, I have 500, 600 pages to go. I don't know if I can do this. You know how last time that I talked to you about this book, I said that I was like 20, 30 pages in, and I was like, I don't know if I can do another high fantasy. Like, I just get so tired of constantly reading high fantasy, the politics, and the just like, it's depressing sometimes because these bad things happen. It's just like, I'm so tired of world-ending plots and all that. I'm on page 178, I think it was. So, it's going pretty well. It's only been a couple of hours. I think that that is where I'm going to end for tonight, though, because I'm getting a little bit sleepy. It's not even that late at night, but I'm like, I'm gonna stop reading for right now. And I wish I could tell you anything about this book, but I am finding it hard to come up with anything to say, because it is a sequel and we're talking about things that, it's like kind of spoilers for the first book. It's in that weird in-between section where it's like, if you haven't read Fourth Wing, you'd get spoilers. But then I can't talk about anything with this book because I'm operating under the assumption that you haven't read Fourth Wing. I will say that I'm finding it really interesting, though, that our main character in the previous book, Fourth Wing, she was a first year at this war college. And in this book, she is now a second year. So being able to see the things that occurred in the first year of like their education, and seeing them through the eyes of a second year is really interesting. You know, even so much as like entering the school, the very first time it happened in Fourth Wing, that was like harrowing, you know, that was like such a big thing. And then reading it again in this, it's like, oh, it's just another Tuesday. Not really, you know, it's still like an event, but it's not an event that we have to worry about. And that's such an interesting feeling to like remember as a first year. That was like such a big thing. And now it's just kind of like, okay, stand here, get ready. So I am enjoying that aspect of it, but otherwise, plot related, what's going on in the major story, I can't say that I want to tell you anything. Like, it's happening. They're planning, but I feel, okay, here's what I can say. I feel like because the main character doesn't know much about what is happening, I can't comment on a lot because I don't know much about what's happening. We're getting like bits and pieces, but for the most part, the main character is just supposed to be focused on surviving her second year of this college. And despite the fact that she really wants to know what's going on, like, nobody's telling her. And so you're just reading it and nothing much is going on, but I'm excited to get into some more of it. I'm enjoying my time with it, I'd say. You know what? We're reading, and I'm like 2/6 of the way through the book. Perhaps a third of the way through the book. That's exciting, actually. I didn't think about that until just now, but yeah. I'm almost a third of the way through the book. It's been a hot second since the last time that I talked to you guys, to the point that I don't remember what I was last talking to you about in this book. So we're just gonna go for like an overarching idea rather than anything in specific. Plus also, I think I've said this before, but I'm finding it a little bit difficult to talk about what goes on in this book because like so much of it you just have to know. So much of it is just based off of the world and like the world's politics that it's like I'm not gonna give you an entire look into the basics of this world. But one thing that I will say is that I find it really interesting how at the beginning here I was talking about how I wasn't really all that into this book and how I was almost kind of dreading, in a way, reading it, being like, oh my god, there's so many pages in this book and it's high fantasy and I'm getting kind of tired of high fantasy. You remember that conversation? Because I remember that conversation. And then we got back, the characters at the beginning of this book were not in the college that they normally are in. And so we got back to the college and everything felt fine suddenly. I was enjoying the book, I was reading it, I was like sitting here for hours, just constantly turning pages. And now I am in a section where yet again we are outside of the college. And it's slowing down a little bit for me. And I just find that really interesting that I guess it's just because I like how much smaller the college would be in comparison to the rest of the world. You know, it's a more contained plot, and all we have to worry about is the things that happen inside those walls, versus once we are out and we are talking a little bit more about the world, politics, and like war and stuff, that's a lot more to focus on. And there's not really any rhyme or reason to this conversation, just in general that I find it really interesting that I seem to enjoy more contained plots than overarching world plots. I think honestly that could potentially be the problem that I have with high fantasy lately, is that so many of them are so large, world-ending. War is... I saw something on TikTok the other day, I think it was, that somebody was complaining that the war in some book felt like a bigger character than the main character did. And I thought that was such an interesting way of looking at it. I think that's what I have problems with in high fantasy too, is like so much of it is focused on the war, and I'm just like, I don't want to read about war anymore. I just want to read some little contained plot about a character going to a college where she learns how to ride dragons. Anyway, I have less than 300 pages to go until I am done with this book. It's currently Thursday. I have to bring this book back to the library on Wednesday. So, like, one part of me is like, okay, you have 6 days. And the other part of me is like, it's cutting it a little close. So, we'll see how it goes. I'm at this point now in the book where I'm just like, girls, you're so embarrassing. They're fighting. I guess that I can say this because it's not really a spoiler. It is the fight between Kat and Violet when they're like, Kat challenges her on the mats, anyway. And so they're like talking. First of all, I can only imagine that like everybody's watching this battle as they're talking, so they'd all be able to hear what they're talking about. And they're just like, as they're physically fighting, they are verbally fighting over a guy. Like, why do we care? There's this one point when Kat says, I'm sure as hell not fighting you over a man's affections. And I'm like, historically, throughout this entire book, that's exactly what you've been fighting about, is whether or not he's in love with you. Like, girl, you, for one, are not that important. Like, we do not give a shit about you. Secondly, like, really? Grow up. And then the worst part, I feel like, is also I have, for some reason, TikTok is obsessed with showing me things about this series in general. And so I've seen a lot of things online recently as I'm actively reading this about how people don't like this book in particular because, like, they have a bone to pick with Xaden, the guy now, because this girl is fighting Violet over him. And, like, how dare he have a relationship with somebody before his relationship with the main character of this book? That's not his problem. Honestly, I don't know who I hate worse. Kat for just being a whiny little bitch baby? Or the people who have reviewed this book that I've seen on the internet who are like, this is obviously the guy's fault. No. It's not. At this point, I feel like you just know that I'm never leaving this spot ever. I just finished Iron Flame, and I wanted to get my immediate post-reading thoughts down. And that's what they were, just there. Okay, what does that mean? I feel like I should not tell you what happens, because, like, spoilers, but, like, I know that the third book is out already. At least I'm pretty sure. I'm like 90% sure that the third book is out already. And that I can just immediately hop from this into the next one. But I'm like, okay, what does that mean exactly? Because, like, everything that we know so far, what does that influence? I'm trying to beat around the bush so hard, but I don't know how to say it without not saying it, you know? It's just kind of, I would like to read the next book so that I can understand, like, what this truly means and how things are going to change in the future. Also, the whole thing with, like, a certain character dying. I feel like throughout this entire series, I have not really cared about any of the deaths. Because it's just like at this point so many people die. Can I help you? Did you hear that? Of course you did. That was the book, I swear. So many people die in these sorts of books that it's just like, sure, whatever. A character gets a little too much discussion on paper, and then all of a sudden they're dead, and you're just like, yeah, could have seen that one coming. There is a death that happens at the end of this as well that I'm like, so, what does that mean exactly, you know? Because, like, yikers. There's definitely a lot of details in this ending that I'm like, well, that's going to be fun and interesting for the next book in the series. Though I will say, part of me really wants to see if I can get it from the library as soon as possible and start reading it. The other part of me is like, I'm so tired, and I've said this throughout the entirety of this book, I'm so tired of stories that have a lot of war and fighting in them that I'm like, I don't give a shit about the fighting. I would prefer if this book didn't have fighting. So I don't know if I want to pick up the next book in the series immediately. You know what I do need to do right now, though, is open up that one book. You know, the Alex Volkov book. Am I going to remember anything about that book besides the guy's name? It's insane at this point. Because that is the final book that I had picked up while I was at my dad's that I need to read, and I have it on my Kindle. It's currently 12:30, so I will not be reading a lot of it. However, I will at least try perhaps 30 minutes of it tonight, and then, you know, we'll go from there. Maybe I'll give you a brief description of like what it's about. Oh, sorry, this book, we're still talking about it. 3-star read. I feel like there were parts that I really liked, but also because of the whole war and things, there were parts that I really struggled through. I feel very neutral about it. I like the characters. I like the war college in general, like the setting, but the plot loses me at times where I just don't care. Okay, the 30-minute timer is up. It's now 1 a.m. and I feel like I'm far enough into this book to give you some basic details, at least a lot more than I knew before, which was the main male character's name. So our main character's name is Ava. Her brother is going to somewhere out of the country for like a medical volunteering year, and he is scared that something's going to happen to her while he's gone, even though she's 22, I think it was. So he gets his best friend, I feel like we all know, in order to like watch over her, which for some reason means moving into the house next door to hers, because why not? I will say, though, that so far the only real thought that I have writing-wise is that it feels a little too... I forget Mary Sue, but like the male version, like Gary Stu, I think it is, that Alex Volkov is like... he's a multi-millionaire and he has a really high IQ and, you know, all these things. It's like, okay. Does he have any negative qualities? And there is something about how, like, they both have trauma. Everybody in this book has trauma, but I haven't really gotten too far into that to know what it is, so. But right now I'm going to bed. Also, my camera's about to die, so I gotta make this quick. I don't like it. Listen, I'm trying so hard to like this book, but I think I have to be true to myself. And I have to say, I don't like it. Originally, when I was talking about this book in this video, you know, I was saying that, like, oh my god, he's such a Gary Stu. Like, of course, he's a millionaire, and he also has a high IQ. And then also, like, it's not exactly photographic memory, but it's basically kind of photographic memory. And the trauma, there's nothing hotter than trauma, you know? Like, oh my god, he's so great. He has this whole list of, like, good things about him, and there's not a single, like, bad thing about him. But then also, it goes on with, like, her friends, too. She has 3 friends. One of them's hot as hell. Good for her. The other one's popular on Instagram. Of course, why not? The third one's the princess of a different country. And they're all friends with this girl who is not rich, is still in college from what I know, but I haven't seen any, like, scenes of her in college, but she's attending this college, I guess. She wants to be a photographer, and she's done, like, a couple of things here and there, but she's not, like, you know, officially a photographer. There's nothing special about her. And yet, these 3 girls are her best friends. The main love interest... There's this scene, right? Because I just finished the, like, alumni ball or whatever scene. I'm, like, halfway through it. They're leaving. And he says this line, something that's like, she's mine and I just didn't know it until now, or like, I want her and I just didn't know it until now. But, like, why? You know? Why? She doesn't have to be special in order to be wanted, you know? That's not the message that I'm trying to say here. It's just, why? Which, when you get down to it, is pretty much the same question, you know? What makes her so special that all these people are, like, in love with her? Her brother being overly protective of her? I mean, I guess I could understand, sort of, because, like, she has these nightmares that she's drowning. I guess I understand that for, like, the brother thing of why he's so overly protective of her, but the rest of it's just, like, none of these characters have bad qualities. None of these characters feel like actual people. They just feel like Gary Stu's or Mary Sue's in order to fit in and have this perfect plot. And it's just, I've been trying so hard, but I put it down earlier today and I have not wanted to pick it up since. It's been hours. I'll tell you what page I'm on. I mean, I did just tell you that, like, I finished some alumni ballroom thing. I'm on page 114, which is 34% of the way through the book. The beginning of chapter 14. And I'm just like, listen, I know that Book Talk, Bookstagram, all the bookish social media is obsessed with this man. I have never heard bad things about this book ever. Everything that I've ever heard about it is like, good. This book is amazing. I love the main male character, etc., etc. I don't want to do this. Straight up, I don't want to read this anymore. I'm not enjoying myself with it. So I'm going to go ahead just now and decide to DNF it, which I hate doing this at the ends of videos, even when I had my own separate YouTube channel just for reading books and all this. I was always like, I hate when I end videos with me DNFing a book, because it kind of feels like everything's for nothing, right? Like, I started a book, I ended up not liking it, and now we're here. But started the book, ended up not liking it. Honestly, nobody's more disappointed than I am. But sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. In good news though, I did read 3 books in this video and really enjoyed them. I did end up putting out a hold for Onyx Storm, the 3rd book in this series, today. Today's Sunday, and tomorrow's a holiday. So I will not be getting it until probably Wednesday, maybe Thursday, depends, because I had to get it from a nearby library, but not the library that I go to. So I have to get it shipped to my library, and then when they have notified me that it's available, I'll go pick it up. But like, I will be reading the next book in this series soon, I decided, so we have that to look forward to, because that ending was an ending. But with all of that being said, that is the 4-ish books that I did not read while I was getting those 9 books from my dad's. All done. I've learned from my lesson. I'm never going to get 9 books for a total of 4 days of reading time ever again. We're going to take it a little bit more slow. We're going to allow ourselves time. And it's going to be okay. I can always come back later and get the other books that sound good as well. Anyway, I'm gonna go now, so thank you for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one for some more reading or whatever else I end up doing on this channel.